Just as Marvel's Captain America embodies American values of justice and strength, European comics have long reflected their nation's shifting identities during economic turbulence. Behind colorful panels and speech bubbles lies a fascinating chronicle of how countries reimagine themselves when prosperity falters. Today, we explore how European economic decline has shaped the values and national narratives portrayed in some of the continent's most beloved comic books. When René Goscinny and Albert Uderzo created Asterix in 1959, France was experiencing the economic strains of decolonization and the painful transition to the Fifth Republic. The comic's premise, a tiny Gaulish village resisting Roman imperialism through wit and community, resonated deeply with French anxieties about American economic dominance and cultural influence. Asterix portrayed a particular vision of Frenchness, resourceful, culturally superior, and maintaining independence against overwhelming odds. The famous magic potion represents not just strength, but French exceptionalism, a comforting narrative during a period when France's actual economic and political power was diminishing on the world stage. As the Franks struggled, Asterix offered a mythological past where French identity remained undefeated. Britain's economic decline in the 1970s and the harsh remedies of Thatcherism found their darkest expression in Judge Dredd. Created in 1977 as Britain negotiated an IMF bailout, this dystopian vision of Megacity One presented a society where economic collapse had led to authoritarian control. Unlike American superhero comics that typically celebrated individual freedom, Judge Dredd portrayed a world where economic necessity had trumped civil liberties. The comic simultaneously critiqued and reflected the emerging values of Thatcher's Britain: efficiency over compassion, order over freedom, and harsh justice as the price of economic stability. As British industry declined, Dredd's writers explored a troubling question: what values might Britain sacrifice to restore its fortunes? Italy's economic stagnation during the Years of Lead found unique expression in Tiziano Sclavi's Dylan Dog, launched in 1986. This horror detective series portrayed a nation losing faith in its post-war economic miracle and questioning its institutional values. Dylan Dog himself, an ex-Scotland Yard detective now working privately in London, represented Italian disillusionment with traditional authorities. The series explored corruption, environmental degradation, and social inequality through supernatural metaphors. While earlier Italian comics had celebrated national progress, Dylan Dog reflected a generation's growing cynicism about Italy's economic future and political system. As unemployment rose, the comics suggested that the true horror wasn't monsters, but the collapse of social norms and ideals. Spain's comics, during its difficult transition from dictatorship to democracy, reveal a nation reimagining its values amid economic uncertainty. El Jueves, launched in 1977 as Spain faced severe inflation, used satire to challenge the lingering Franco-era values of hierarchy, Catholicism, and nationalism. Comics by artists like Carlos Jimenez directly confronted Spain's past while questioning what new values should guide its future. Unlike American superhero narratives where good and evil were clearly defined, Spanish comics of this era portrayed moral ambiguity and institutional failure. They asked, could Spain build a democratic identity while its economy faltered? The comics suggested that economic hardship might actually accelerate Spain's embrace of progressive values by discrediting old authoritarian promises of stability and order. The connection between European economic decline and comic book values reveals how nations process collective trauma through popular culture. When economic certainties falter, comics don't merely reflect reality. They propose new narratives about what a society might value beyond material prosperity. Where American comics like Captain America often reaffirm national strength during crises, European comics have typically used economic downturns to question and reimagine national identity. They ask, if we cannot be prosperous, what kind of people shall we be? Through this lens, economic decline becomes not just a financial event, but a profound renegotiation of collective values, drawn in vibrant colors and bound between comic book covers. That was it. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, feel free to come back next Friday for the next one. See you!